Welcome back to SML Total Access. I'm Primetime Triple Zero, joined by me as usual, Dan and Matt. What's going on, fellas?
Not much. Just living the dream.
Yeah, yeah. Happy to be here. Which a couple of episodes here, real quick, to bring us back from the sickness.
Yes, yes. And guys, let's move on to first down right off the bat. Hey, there was rumors of a blip. Actually, just like a week ago was our 1 year anniversary of our blip, but CFM was down for a few days. It's back. We're floating along. Who do you think was secretly rooting for the blip the most? And Matt, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think there's two guys that stand out for me, one in each conference. I'm going to start with the with the NFC. I think Tiny probably was rooting for the blip. You know, having come back in the league and picked a little low, I think based on his activity in the chat and stuff like that, he probably feels like he would have picked higher in a redraft. So he could have got something better than the Giants. And then on the AFC, I feel like it's easy. It's got to be NYT, right? I mean, ever since I've
Yeah.
been in the SML, he's been in the easiest division that there is. I mean, coincidence or not, it is what it is. It's always been a Weenie Hut Jr. 8-8 wins the division. And then he kind of got bullied, which is certainly my fault, into maybe one of the toughest divisions, or at least when we started, it looked like the toughest division in the AFC South. He's right now 0-7. Last season, I think he had one of the top picks in the draft too. I'm pretty sure it was top 5. I guarantee you, if we redraft, there is no way he is touching the Titans or anyone near that AFC South.
Yeah, I just want to comment on that real quick. How does it feel? A lot of people view NYT as this kind of tough guy, New York guy, kind of hard nosed, and you legitimately bullied NYT. You kind of outmanned him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I called him out. He says that he's always been in these Weenie Hut Junior divisions that look like they're recruited. It feels like Tiny or Woods is always in there, and then that NFC East was had KJ in it, and then Tiny. It sounded like a recruitment. And I called him out. I said, hey, it's not a coincidence that every time you're in a division that's easy for you to win. The NFC West last cycle, I mean, it wasn't even competitive. He had it won by week 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels good. NYT, he's the bully. He's always puffing his chest and bullying everybody and stuffing everybody in a locker. It feels good to stuff him in a locker.
Yeah,
That is
I
the
like
AFC
that.
South.
I like that. Dan, what do
Yeah,
you
that's
think?
good. That's good, Matt. I like both those choices. I think those were really good ones. I'm gonna go a little off Broadway on this one though. I'm gonna say that in the NFC, we're gonna go QP. I don't think wants to be in my division. I think it's a little more smoke than what he thought was coming his way. I don't think he likes the fact that that team had salary caps. He goes and trades his best 2 defensive players. Now that defense is a shell of itself. I think QP just wishes a restart. He might still come back in my division, but he definitely wishes he had a restart because man, he's just not trending in the right direction. And then in the AFC, I'm going to go Bean. I don't think Bean wants to be in any division where there is a Hutchins, Fields,
Let's
or any
go!
conference where there is
Field!
a Prime. I think he wants out of that division. He wants out of that conference. He wants to run as far as away as those 2 brothers can go. He cannot beat either one of those guys, and he wants something that has
Let's
nothing to do with
go!
either of you guys.
Love
That's
it.
a good one, Dan.
I love it. Yeah, I'm gonna go AFC. I'm looking at the Jets and Bomber. He took a team and obviously last season he took the Jets, or not the Jets, excuse me, the Browns, who were a super team. And anytime you go from the Browns to really anybody, it's going to be a step back. But I think he might have underestimated just how hard a build would be with this Jets team. And he's really struggled against just top tier opponents. And on top of that, in his division, which has been light, all of a sudden, Death Wish has been trained up now, prepped, and now Death Wish is leading the division at 5-1. So, I got to say Bomber, and I really don't have a close second. I think if he could do it all over again, he would have taken a team like the Eagles, who had a lot of draft capital and already had a good roster. Those are the teams that Bomber can really, really build up as teams who already have a lot of talent and a lot of draft capital. With this Jets team, I don't think it fits him all that well. Moving on, though, we're going to move on to second down, and we're going to talk about who plays you guys tougher than maybe the rest of the league. Maybe this guy's record isn't that good, but he still plays you well. And Dan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I got two guys. One doesn't play anybody else too well, but always gives me a hard game. And that's Tiny. I want to give a quick shout out to Tiny. I give him a hard time in chat, mostly because he deserves it. But he always plays me tough. Always a tight game. I don't think I've ever really blown Tiny out. And then I see him play everyone else, and it's like, man, what am I doing wrong? That Tiny gives me such a hard time. And the other one is Meats. Meats always gives me a tough game. No matter what we've played over the few cycles. And then I watch him play Faz, and Faz just kind of blows him out. I'm like, man, well, what's going on that I can't get by Meats? So I want to give Meats and Tiny just a little bit of a pop there, because both those guys play me a little bit tougher than some of the rest of the league does.
Yeah, that's a good one. Tiny was one of mine too, but I had a backup just in case he was taken. I got KJ. KJ has always played me tough. I don't think I've ever lost to him, but it's his style. He plays good defense. He doesn't call a play until 15 seconds left on the play clock, at least. So the games are really short, and if you make a mistake, you could really find yourself in a bind. It's kind of like how I played in Madden 21, where I just ran the ball and punted, hoping you'd make a mistake, and then you didn't get the ball very many times. And then, honestly, two-step. And I'm going to touch on him later, but he plays me really tough. I think it's just his style. He's found a really good running game this cycle. I play him twice, obviously, but that's actually a really good team this cycle. Waller is uncoverable. Devontae Adams just kind of fits the receiver mold that you want this year with the big, tall route runner. And I don't think he beat me last season when I rested my starters, but he always plays me tough, and it's a game that I don't look forward to because I know I can lose.
For me, I'm thinking Noel, and Noel usually hovers around 500, and he's a solid player, and he's made the playoffs, I think, in the past. But he usually plays me close. He has an interesting style, and if he's not throwing a bunch of interceptions, I feel like he can play me close. Another guy who plays me close that I don't think is very good. It's got to be QB Stud. No, I'm just kidding, QB. You're a good player. You do play me close, so I think QB. A lot of guys.
You should have stuck with it, man. You bailed on that one too quick. That would have been good to run that out through the whole segment.
No, QB is I don't think he's viewed as an elite player at this stage in his Madden career anymore, especially with the time off. But he always has played me close, and he still does. And I think it's just a thing of styles. And I think QB plays me close. Moving on to third down, the NFC South is interesting. You have Dom, you have Dump, you've got Monty, and somebody else who I completely forgot about. That's how disappointing it really is. Clinky.
Yeah.
How disappointing is the NFC South?
Yeah, I honestly think it's pretty disappointing. I think when we left the team draft, when we compiled it was all done, and we started looking at the divisions and the conferences, and I think we all looked at the NFC South and said, "Oh boy, this is gonna be a wild ride. It's gonna be fun." It's been a wild ride. I don't know if it's been fun though. And I'm going off of Daddy Leagues here just because previous seasons on Neon I can't figure out. But I think Monty is the only one that's won a playoff game. I think Dom and Clink have both made the playoffs one time and lost their opening game. So super disappointing because the Saints, the Bucks, and the Panthers, those are all good teams. And those are all three really good owners. Dump is a good owner, but Atlanta needed a little bit of work. But I'm looking at it now. I think Dom's starting to figure things out. He's 5-2, but Dump 3-3, Clink 3-3, Monty 3-4. I expect this division to maybe be the NFC South of last cycle, where we had maybe 2 or 3 teams coming out every season, and that's not the case.
Dan?
Yeah, I think it's disappointing in this fact that I was expecting more flair, more fireworks, more like attention around the whole SML. Like they were, when they would play against each other, it would be almost a marquee matchup, and it just kind of feels like just another game. And I don't know if I don't want the personal attacks or that kind of trash talk, but I want some drama. I mean, basically, they're just all kind of 500, and their attitudes are about 500 too. It's just kind of blah, and we got nothing. I mean, there's a huge gap right now in the NFC to say who's the third best team, who comes in right after myself and QP, and I would have thought one of the teams from the NFC South would rise up to do that. I thought maybe Monty did after his run last year, but now we're kind of finding out that was a really huge fluke, maybe one of the greatest flukes SML's seen since Monty's now under 500 and just getting blown out by in every one of his losses. So I just want to see something from the NFC South that makes me even pay attention to him.
Well, I think the division is disappointing. I do think that by cycle's end, Dom will be a, a formidable foe in the NFC and probably the number 3 guy there in the NFC, just in general. But I think the problem is Dom never has had the personality. He's not the Conor McGregor or Floyd Mayweather. And you look at every division, you have at least one guy who sells tickets. When they're fighting, when that guy goes to fight, you're gonna turn it on. AFC South's got 2. You look at even the NFC North, which is struggling. I mean, Paulie, people watch Paulie. They want to see him lose because they hate him most of the time, but they still watch it. And obviously Dan's division, Matt's division. I mean, the NFC South is just kind of a bleh division because you don't have a big time ticket seller. Dump has the most potential to be that guy, but the problem is he's working and he's taken a more reserved approach, a more likable approach to many. But because of that, I think it's kind of hurt his marketability, and his pay-per-view buys have dropped because of it. But I think Dump has the most potential to be the guy that would sell the tickets. But at the end of the day, Dom is going to be the best player in that division. And especially that Saints team's a tough team to build, and he had to gut it, and he had to trade some star players, and the Falcons aren't that good either. So the two, in my opinion, the guys that are the best players kind of had some teams that it's going to take some time to dev up too, in my opinion.
Yeah, you make a good point. You could even go, is the NFC South disappointing, but is the Monty versus Dump rivalry disappointing? And there were too many fireworks. It got a little too personal, but I think they both realized that. But I still was hoping for a friendly, Prime versus Faz rivalry. I expected some shots before the games and after the games, and maybe the mediocrity just they don't feel it, or maybe it's work. I don't know, but I was hoping that would become something more than it is.
Yeah, no, good point there. Hey guys, it's 4th down, and kind of a staple topic. We used this last week, and we're gonna try to bring it up every show. Is we want to be the show known as a show that kind of spreads the love and brings positivity to the league, and so we're gonna spread the love. Dan, who are you spreading your love to?
Yeah, I know. I just have to finally admit defeat that, your bromance has caught on to me now that I have to start talking about lovey-dovey, hug and respect people. Man, who do I respect out there right now? I respect Coop right now. His record isn't very good. I think he's got 1 win. Just lost a tough one to Gutta. But if you look at some of the games he's played, he had QP. He should have beat QP. Everything was lined up for him. He had me. He should have beat me. We went into overtime. He's playing some good ball right now. He's getting that defense right to where it needs to be. He's got 2 really, really good corners. He's got a good user. Look out for Coop. He's going to be a guy I think on the rise. Maybe not quite this season, but he's gonna figure it out. And Coop, give you much respect.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna stay in my division. I'm gonna be maybe a little biased here, if you will, and I'm gonna call out the old man, the man with the most SML games played in history, I believe, and that is Terrible Two Step. Second most. Excuse me. He just beat Monty, which, I mean, when Monty's playing well, he looks like one of the best teams around. And he had a great run in the NFC. Of course, when he plays bad, he looks like this. But, he just beat him. He's been in a lot of games. He had a 2-score loss to QB. He beat Coop, who we just talked about. He beat a really good Browns team. He lost by 2 scores to Clink. I think he's built this team really well. And I'm going to give it to Two Step. Like I just mentioned, that he always plays me tough, which is the truth. And I think he's starting to turn the corner a little bit. He's 3-4. Hey, playoffs.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I'm looking at Fig Newton. His record's low, 1-6, but what he's done is he's made the Colts the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL, and he's made the Colts undefeated. And Dane Dempsey has been dominant. And I couldn't do this without Fig Newton. And I just want to give Fig a shout out. And he even said, he's like, look, he understood his limitations. And he's like, look, Dane's not my guy. I'm going to trade him to somebody who can use him while I look for my future. So kind of a progressive thinking there. I just want to spread the love to Fig Newton for allowing me to be undefeated with Dane Dempsey and to have a quarterback of the future. Let's move on now.
Yeah, please. Let's move on, please.
Should I keep going? Let's move
No,
on
let's move on.
to the extra point. Matt 5, what you got, bub?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Dane is. I just checked; he really is 70 overall. I still can't believe that. At number 5, I've got myself. I kind of had my first real test of. Well, I guess I did play QB, so I shouldn't throw him out there. He's a good player. But lost to Dom, close game, good game. Dom, I think, started to turn the corner. At number 4, I've got DW. Again, I'm starting to worry that that I might not be able to put him on here anymore. He just lost to Paulie, which there's no shame in that, but he's got QP and Dom, or not Dom, but Faz next. So this is probably the last time he's going to be on here. But he's on here. He's done a really good job. He's got wins over Bomber. He's got a win over Field. He deserves to be on the list. At number 3, I've got QB. Unlike what you guys think, I do think he's an elite player in this league, but I think he's I guess I should say maybe not elite because he's matchup dependent. Maybe elite guys aren't matchup dependent. But I've been really impressed with QB and the way he plays. He blew the brakes off of Monty, blew the brakes off of Noel. He blew the brakes off of Clink, blew the brakes off of Dump. I know we just talked about how the NFC South's been disappointing, but those are good owners that are going to bring it every single time. And he's got dominant wins over all 3 of them. He hasn't played Dom yet. Number 2, boy, you could almost have a 1A here. But I got to go with Dan. I mean, Dan's got 2 really impressive wins since we last met. With the blowout win over Q, and then really a dominant win over Bomber. I missed the Q game, but I don't really need to go back and watch it. I can look at the score. But it's hard for me to put jump Dan to 1 when Prime hasn't lost. So I've got Prime at number 1. But again, I think for me, it's the win over Faz, but also just it's the way that you've been winning. You just smoked Paulie, you smoked Bomber, you smoked Fig, which we would expect that. But again, if it was a little closer, maybe you move down the list. But you guys are 1 and 1A, and I'm very, very curious. I know we talked about who was going to lose last, and I thought we'd come into this with Dan having a loss, but keeps on trucking. So you guys are the last 2 undefeateds remaining, and we'll see what happens.
Dan, let's meet in the Super Bowl. Undefeated, both of us. What do you say?
Hey, I did my part last season. You need to step your game up and get your part this season.
You're right. But I'll be there. If I want a Kobe LeBron thing, in 08, 09, whenever that was, it didn't happen. And I want the Prime Dan Super Bowl.
I promise you that if that happens, I will win.
Yeah, well.
Oh, wow.
I don't have a comment on that. I just think it's funny.
There's nobody in the AFC right now that can hang with the NFC. That's for sure.
Wow.
It's either QP or myself.
It's good. I like the confidence at least. It's a little blind confidence, but I do like it. It's good. It's good for you. Guys, that's SML Total Access. Matt, I love the list. Guys, thanks for coming on, and guys, thanks for listening. It's probably Christmas is coming up. So maybe share this with your friends. Tell them, hey, join the SML. If you never have been in the SML, apply today at simmaddenleague.com, guys. That is SML Total Access. Everybody, thanks for watching, and have a great day.